There are thousands upon thousands of different wines out there in the world. Different varietals, different regions, different winemaking styles. But how do you differentiate between them? How do you understand what they taste like and why? Well, today we're going to talk about the best ways to train your palate.
In your pursuit to train your palate, it's really a good idea to do this with other people. It's great to have a group for a number of reasons. First of all, you can bounce ideas and suggestions off each other. The other big reason is it can get expensive tasting a whole bunch of different wines. So if you have a small group of people and everyone brings a different wine, that's a great way to taste a bunch of different wines and it doesn't break the bank.
So there are a lot of different ways that you can approach this. If you're just starting out with this process of learning, get a book. You got to learn a little basic geography. You got to learn a little bit about viticulture, which is the growing process. And you got to learn a little bit about viniculture, which is the winemaking process. And that'll kind of get you set for the next portion, which is buying some wine and actually doing the tasting part. But you have to do both because you need to lock both elements in order for you to progress any further. When you're doing your homework, you want to look at things like, is the vineyard close to a body of water? Is the vineyard high altitude or low altitude? Is the climate warm or cool? All of this stuff plays such a major role in the development of the wine. And once you learn things like that, it just starts to make so much sense and you can apply it to what you're seeing and what you're smelling and what you're tasting. A great way to train your palate is to taste the same grape from different locations. For instance, a Merceau by Philippe Bouzereau is going to taste completely different than the Stoller Chardonnay from Oregon. They are grown in different places, they are made in different styles, and if you pour them in 2 glasses and go side by side, they are going to be so wildly different that you'll say, well, geez, I think I'm going to remember this. The biggest difference between these 2 wines is that the Stoller sees just the tiniest kiss of oak, whereas the Merceau is fermented in and aged in big, large neutral French oak, which puts a ton more of that robust flavor into the wine. It's going to be a more opulent and round style of Chardonnay versus the light and vibrant and ethereal Chardonnay that comes from Stoller from Oregon. So what kind of glassware should you use when evaluating wines like this? Before I tell you, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell, and please leave some comments below. Maybe we'll answer your questions in future videos. For me, I think it's very important to try to use the same glass when doing comparative tastings because it'll really help you with consistency. The delivery method, meaning the way that the liquid comes to your mouth and the way that the aromas come out of the glass are always going to be the same. So that way you know that there's no variation in the glassware. It's going to be the liquid and the glass working in an educational way for you.
A really helpful way to help you develop your palate is through blind tasting. Now, blind tasting sounds kind of like this geeky thing, but really what you're trying to do when you blind taste is build a skill set for yourself. When you have no preconceived notions about what a wine is or what a price of the wine is, it really makes you approach it objectively. So you're training your palate to look for things in the wine. In the WSET and the Court of Master Sommelier, there's a specific systematic approach to blind tasting wine. It's really very interesting because it makes you think about every aspect of the wine. First, you look at the color. Color can tell you a lot about the wine. You look at the acidity, the alcohol, the sweetness. All of these components help you narrow in on what a wine might possibly be. One other thing, when you're trying to train your palate and you're blind tasting or comparative tasting, never forget that wine is a beverage of enjoyment. So enjoy yourself while you're doing it.
Remember, the more you do this, the easier it becomes, and your palate will learn and grow with you. So you'll get a more refined palate the more often you do this. Practice makes perfect.
So now that you have a few pointers on how to better develop your palate, Pick up a few bottles of wine in one of our stores or visit us at abcfws.com. And check out our other videos.